doing my usual thing where I look down at my phone to check that it's working. The one that I did this morning was a bit blurry, so I hope it doesn't do that to me again this time. Fingers crossed. It won't. Oh no, we're there and we look good.
Oh, do we look all right? It's worth putting makeup on a Sunday. That's my new mantra.
Brilliant. I mean, it's good to get together. It's nice to have something nice to look forward to on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And what's really crazy is that even though we literally on the plane as we came in yesterday, it was like sunshine and blue. And then Jack turned to me and he went, "Mummy, there's a big cloud." And we went through the cloud. It was just grey.
You're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. That's
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was coming down to earth with a bump, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But welcome to a Sunday afternoon interview. We are live in the 12 Days of Christmas Challenge group, which is fab. And we've got a couple of people joining us already. Janine says hello. Hi, Janine.
Hi.
Oh, wait, I can do this, can't I? Hi, Janine. It doesn't come up as who you are. But we know who you are because I can see it in the comments. So I mean, these last few days where we've been coming in and we've been doing these interviews, it's actually been really lovely to just kind of connect with all of you pretty pros and find out how you're doing and how you feel. And it's been pretty wonderful. So before we start and we get into the chatty part, because I know you and I could chat for literally hours. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
How do we do that in a nutshell? This is where I always struggle. Hi everyone, I'm Helen, and I'm an emotional empowerment coach and therapist, and I work with everyone. So I have kind of 4 strands to my business. So I work with adults, supporting them and empowering them to kind of transform from feeling defined by their emotional distress, whether that be anxiety, overwhelm, grief, loss, abuse, trauma, emotional trauma, to feeling emotionally liberated and victorious in kind of living their life in the way that they want to. And so that's kind of, that used to be the main bit. Then now there's, I also work with children and young people directly in the room here with me in France. I don't work with them online. I've tried to, it doesn't work for me. And so I kind of do almost the same thing, but usually it's kind of much more around anxiety, overwhelm, attachment difficulties, some elements of trauma from domestic abuse situations, things like that. So I work very much in the room with children here. I also work with parents internationally. So I provide a kind of therapeutic parenting approach to supporting parents to respond to and, well, understand and respond to the emotional needs of their children. And I have a very kind of trauma-informed background around that. So I work with dyadic developmental psychotherapy and attachment therapy and the impact of trauma on brain development, etc. So I use that in supporting parents. And I also, as a training element of my business, I train foster carers and supervising social workers to support them in particular ways in responding to the emotional needs of children and young people who have been traumatized. So there we go. That's what I do.
So not a very lot and not very important then.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it always kind of blows my mind because we've worked together now in one capacity or another for quite some time. And if somebody was to say to me, what is it that Helen does? I feel like I could answer that question. But then when we speak about what you actually do, I think when I would answer that question, it would be a very, very shallow version of what you just said, because there would be no way that I could fully, like you said, there's just no nutshell for that.
No.
There's no nutshell for the amount of scope that you help people with, and it's such incredibly important work. What I've realized as an adult is that actually sometimes we have suffered childhood traumas or issues that have changed the way we are as a fully fledged adult that we may not have realized actually have created those things within us. So for instance, living in a household where there are financial difficulties can have a massive impact to who you are as a person and how you deal with things as an adult. And then even like grief and other traumatic events that children kind of, it's weird. I bet if you dug deep into everyone,
God, yeah.
you know, some sort of traumatic event that we've all had to kind of like grow through or suffer through. So yeah, I think you need to maybe clone yourself because I think everyone needs a Helen.
Do you know, that's not an unusual statement that people use when they have finished working with me, and which I'm kind of really proud of. You know, I don't say it an awful lot, but I am really proud of kind of how people feel after they finish, and kind of the statements that they say around, I can't believe I don't need you anymore. You know, I never thought I wouldn't need you. You know, it's kind of like, I'm on my own now, but I feel okay with being on my own with this now. And that for me is kind of the best, you know. It's just, and usually I don't work with it. I mean, thankfully, I mean, because I've developed quite a robust, detailed program of support. You know, the maximum people will work with me is usually 18 sessions. So, you know, but that is the maximum, but usually it's 12, and then they're onto wherever they need to go onto. So it's kind of exciting when that happens. I get very emotional about it. I feel like they're mine. I feel like they're my family when I'm working, you know, when I'm kind of finishing with them, and I'm having to say goodbye, and it's kind of, oh my God, it can't be goodbye, it's au revoir, you know.
It's a tough thing, and I think when you're working in an industry that directly affects people in a positive way, it can be really difficult to have that disconnect at a time when maybe you do part ways for the better.
Yeah.
When you successfully got to the stage, to the journey where you need to be, it's still really difficult to then be like, okay, so now you're done.
No, you're done. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I know it's a bit of a joke, but that's one of the reasons why when we use the play on word with pretties, I use that whole fly my pretties thing. And I know that it's a bit of a joke, but it's the same thing, because for me, I have to almost turn it into in my head that like people are flying away to a better because of the time that we've had together. And now and yours is obviously far more significant from what you're doing in the world, but it's still, you get emotionally attached, don't you?
Oh yes, yeah. And I you know, I can't help, you know, anybody that says, oh, you know, you leave your emotions at the door when you start to work with anyone. I've been doing this for 22 years. If you don't, you get connected. You get, you know, it's like people finish with me and say, oh, it feels like I've got a friend now. Well, I'll never be their friend in the sense that I think of, you know, the friends that I have. But of course, they'll always have me in some way, and I'll be part of their lives in some way. And that's, you know, that if that's friendship for them, then perfect, you know. But you know, I get emotional in the room and online. I work with most of my adults online. You know, I do get emotional when they have those kind of aha moments and those. I mean, it happened this week. You know, one lady said, I never actually thought I would feel this way about myself, and she just said, I can't believe it. I mean, kind of, she had childhood abuse, which she only just remembered and disclosed to me. So, you know, you kind of work through that, and then you have somebody saying, I never thought I'd feel this liberated, you know, and that I just get emotional about, and I say, I can't help it. I'm going to cry with you. And we cry at everything. It's literally.
just hold on in now. I'm right there with you. I'm just going to have a cry with you. But I think sometimes people need that.
Yeah, because, you know, they don't want to be with a therapist or an empowerment coach that doesn't kind of share their emotional truth.
Yeah. it's difficult that being in a room with somebody and being emotional and kind of laying all of your cards out on the table, and then them not having
Staring blankly at them.
yeah, I mean, there's been times where I've been in a situation, like a professional situation, where I've got a bit teary because I can't help it. I'm a bit of a crier. And it's difficult when the people on the other side are trying to maintain that almost like fake air of professionalism, when in fact you can still be an absolute professional and be yourself. And I mean, if there's one thing that we absolutely agree on that crosses over both our industries, it's that, isn't it? That you don't actually have to hide yourself behind these airs and graces. You can actually be yourself and still be the business person, the professional, do your job well without any of that facade.
Yeah, you can still, you know, from my work perspective, you know, you can still hold someone and show them that you're impacted by what they're saying. And I think that is important, because a lot of people just say to me, you know, oh, it actually feels like you're just holding my hand all the time. And you know, I'm always there holding their hands. You know, it's like I always feel it. But it doesn't mean that I can't and shouldn't show them that, you know, what they've said is important and it's affecting and it's impactful. There are times when you have to kind of hold yourself in slightly because they don't need you weeping and wailing all over them, but it's kind of like defeats the object. But it's that balance, you know. You kind of I'm very aware of when it's okay for me to show that emotion.
Well, you're a true professional, so I think you've got that good instinct. So yeah, I've got no doubt. So I mean, tell everybody where you were in your business when we first met. Like, what were you doing online?
What was it? Practically nothing online, I don't think. I've been in the position, certainly kind of for the last 5 years, of having a very good reputation, word of mouth. So I had never kind of stepped into the realms of social media. But when I moved to France, and it became slightly harder, and I don't know why that was. And maybe it's because France is actually quite difficult. But it just felt slightly harder. Life kind of felt slightly harder, and it felt slightly harder to kind of engage with people, and I couldn't quite figure that out. But anyway, where was I? So I was on Lisa Johnson's Passion for Passive, and then my dad died, so I had to stop kind of doing that. And then everything stopped early this year, and that's when I came across you more, I think. I was thinking about this yesterday. And so I was at a point where there was kind of, I didn't really know what I was doing with social media. I actually had no idea what I was doing with my website either, and got that rather fantastically wrong, but redid it this year. So in terms of kind of my social media, I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know how to talk to them necessarily via social media. You get me in a room with someone or online with someone, I know how to speak to them. I know how to do that. And I just didn't know how to do that on social media. And it had kind of various blocks, not just my own, but other kind of people blocking me and trying to belittle me, actually, from a professional point of view. And so when I came across you, which was probably March time, I think. It was like, I think it was February, March time, I think. And I it was like a light bulb moment of kind of coming into your free group, doing some of your challenge, kind of being you holding my hand and everybody else's hand to. I remember, you know, you asking us to go live, and I was like, oh no, I don't think I can do that. And he was like, no, don't think I can do that. Thanks very much. But I did, and you know, it was fine, and nobody died.
Right. In fact, people loved it. People loved it.
They did, yeah. I remember that challenge really well, because it was that point that things started to change for me, and one of the things that I really struggle with is being in environments where there's a lot of noise. I really struggle with that because there's a lot going on in my head. As any of my friends will tell you, my brain doesn't stop. So to be in an environment where there's a huge amount of noise, I kind of can't deal with it. And that's the same online. And I think that's why social media was kind of feeling too noisy for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then doing your audience attraction course and things like that, I kind of started to shift how I understood how I needed to be on social media. I'm not there yet. I know that. There's a lot that, I need to develop on, but I'm so far forward than I was in.
So far forward. I was just going to say, I know you're saying to me that you're not there yet, but if considering the fact that on that challenge it was kind of like, oh, I don't know about going live. Now there are videos on your Instagram, you're posting regularly. You've done this content challenge with us. I mean,
Yeah.
You love my challenges, and I get excited about the fact, because I know when I do a challenge, you'll definitely come and join in, and I know that you'll enjoy it, and I love that. I do love that. But yeah, you've come on loads. Come on loads.
Yeah, well, I was actually because I was doing your the strategy planning, the 2021 strategy planning. I had to leave early the other night, but I'm catching up on it now, and the 90-day strategy plan as well, the training, and I was kind of doing that over the last few days, and hadn't noticed financially kind of what was happening in my business, which I'm really rubbish at. But like from March, and this, I wanted to say this today because I think it's hugely important for you to know that from the point at which I kind of joined your free group and joined those challenges and shifted and pivoted my business around as a result and the way that I speak to people. I've, since that point up to now, had a 300% increase in my turnover in terms of my business from last year. So
wow.
Just in that, yeah. And I only noticed that. How rubbish is that? I only noticed it over the weekend.
I did a similar thing. I said in January, I want this figure. This figure is the figure that I want. And then I think it was September, I had to go, hi guys, I haven't actually checked my figures. I've already done it. I've already done it by September. I'd actually done it, I think, by the beginning of August. But Helen, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. That's so good.
And that is, I think that, I know that is because at the beginning of this year, I kind of found it. When my dad died, it was just like everything stopped. I had to focus on my mum. I had to focus on myself. My husband wasn't around. I've seen him for 4 weeks this year.
I know. So, you do that. That in itself is hard work, isn't it?
It was kind of a bit crazy, my life sometimes. But it was, it was like I didn't have a vision of the year. It was just like empty, and I was still seeing people. Even the week of my dad's funeral, I was still seeing one-to-one clients. But the rest of it had just disappeared. I had no real understanding of where I wanted to go and how I wanted to do it, and how to understand that social media marketing as it is, and I know that from the point at which I came into a free group and I started to listen and be understood as well, that when I look at the figures, it's a massive difference, and it's that 300% from March through to last week.
That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy in the best way. That makes me so happy, and you deserve that because you've worked really hard. What you do is incredibly valuable, and your track record, the people that have worked with you just go away absolutely adoring you and the process and what you've done for them and with them.
So really rubbish at giving me testimonials.
I know. I mean, and that though therein lies, one of the issues that you have in your niche. And that's one of the things that we've had to overcome together almost every single time we look at the way a normal standard business, service-based or product-based, we can say this will work for you, but for your particular niche, we have to look at it we have to flip it to a different angle.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it is too sensitive to just kind of go for it that way. But every single time you find a way, to work around it and to talk to your people in a way that they understand and they appreciate and still gives the end point, whatever the motivation behind what we were sharing or how we were sharing, you still managed to get there. And that's the important thing, is the connection.
Yeah.
You do it. I was so excited for you. I had no idea you were going to drop that bombshell on me. But that is absolutely wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but no, it's also down to your support as well, because I you can kind of get lost in all the courses and all the different groups, and for me, it is important to be in a space and a place where I'm understood. I can be, I can be very serious. I know that, but I'm also, I'm actually a lot of fun too. But it's being in a place. It is being in a place where you kind of feel that, oh yeah, when I ask a question, I get it, and you're not kind of drowning in a sea of competition. I know, do you know what I mean? Gosh, because there are loads of people like me doing what I do, and I'm not in competition with them. But I want to get the best out of what I offer and how I offer it, and I need to be in a space to do that. And had I not come across you, I don't know that I'd be in this position now. I can't say that I would definitely be, because I wouldn't have known the pathways to choose. I wouldn't have known, the areas to look into. I wouldn't have known, I mean, gosh, it's practically unheard of for me to do a 90-day strategy plan, for goodness sake. It's but it is, that support and the community in the group is just fantastic. I don't know that I could have found that anywhere else.
No, I do think we're a bit different. And I know I say that a lot, and I know that I'm totally biased. But after being in multiple membership groups myself over the time, there isn't anyone like us. And I think, obviously, we adopt things that all membership groups adopt. There are trainings and there are resources and there are practical things that you can put your hands on to help your business, because if you're going to have a business membership, you really need that as a foundation, and all of them will have some varying degree of that, right? But it goes, once you go beyond that point, then we are a completely different beast, I think. And you can't look at anybody else and kind of say, oh yeah, you can get that or you can do that, because it is entirely different. But that's the reason why I love it.
Yeah,
I think that's what
I mean, a lot of people have said it this week, and I know I said it in my, I think I said it in my testimonial for you, but that everybody in the group, not just you are heart-centered, and you then draw heart-centered people. What I do is very heart-centered. To be in a different kind of membership wouldn't suit me. This suits me because everybody in it is heart-centered, as far as I can see. And they're there because you are, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, it's a fantastic group of people.
Yeah,
an extraordinary group of people.
It's an extraordinary group of people. God, I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting everyone at some point.
Yeah, we've got so much good stuff planned for 2021. It just depends on COVID. Like, that's literally the thing that is in play. There was some stuff that should have happened this year that I've delayed. But yeah, it's been a shame that we've not been able to get together, but we will. There will be a problem. There's actually, I think, 2 or 3 chances for us to get together next year. So I'm very, very excited. And whatever happens, I'm not going to let COVID win.
No, I don't think anybody is.
It's not winning. It can only delay us. It cannot stop us.
It's not stop us. No.
Right.
I mean, we're in a different position here. We're not in lockdown now, but there are still restrictions in place. But there's lots of kind of things that we can't do. But one of which is going out after 8 o'clock at night, but I don't think I've seen anybody in rural France doing that. They may do in Paris, but certainly not in my area. It's like shutters shut at like 6. It's quite funny. But I think this year has been an extraordinary year for everyone, and such a turbulent one, but also one of growth, I think, and one of, I think this year has been about change, and next year is going to be about transition, and I think that's the way I see it, and that's the way I talk about it in my group as well. That kind of, this has been a massive change, and next year, and almost kind of from this point on, will be a transition and into something new. It will be the learning process and the growth process.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
I've been really, really feeling grateful all year this year for my business model, and that at least 80-90% of it was already online, and the other 10% during lockdown periods could be offered online. So capacity wise, I technically could continue my business 100% by not 100% how I would have liked, but 100%, regardless of what's been happening. That for me has been a massive source of gratitude. And I don't know how you feel about that, but quite a lot of your stuff, although it's best for you to be in person, and I know that you enjoy being in person, you have been able to offer more online as well, haven't you? You've had your group.
I mean, most of my adult work has always been online, because I work internationally. So it's only if somebody is local to me as an adult that they would come and see me, because they quite like sitting in the room with me. But it's, most of my adult work has been for the last couple of years online. And so, because I have clients in America and Italy and Greece and here in France and the UAE and the UK. So, that's why sometimes I never make it to the trainings, because because the time zones that I'm trying to work in are weird. But I know that there has been an increase in that in this year, and a lot of people kind of have said to me, "Are you sure this works online?" And I say, "Yeah, absolutely, it does. It does if you want it to. It does if you are able to commit to it and to give yourself of it as well." The one thing that's different is children. I won't work with children online. It hasn't worked for me. And it hasn't worked for them. And sorry?
Does it not quite translate the same?
No, I will. I'll do it if they're already in a process with me, and they need a kind of midway top up or something like that, where they've got a bit of time before their next appointment. But there is something. Children, I find, because maybe it's me, maybe I'm the block to that, because I love being on the bean bags with Play-Doh. It's fantastic. Honestly, it's very different. The language that I have to shift to and from is brilliant, and the way of being with people. But I haven't found it yet work with children in the way that I want it to. And the way that I would want it to for them. So, but because I'm classed as a health service here, I'm registered as a health service. So even during lockdown, children have been able to come and see me because it's a medical appointment.
Oh, good. That's really good news.
Yeah. So I've actually seen, certainly since, more so after lockdown eased the first time here, I saw an increase in children coming to me, which is why I then decided to reintroduce children and young people back into my business model, which they weren't. It was like, it was kind of, I'd made this decision that I wasn't going to work with children and young people again, and people thought I was mad, because it's part of my expertise, part of my specialism, and has been for 21 years now. So why I wasn't doing it is beyond me.
Is that when we first were talking about your business, and you were talking about adults predominantly, and as you've gone through this entire year of getting through with your business and making those changes and having the website done and all of that, you do seem to have this clarity now over direction, and you have a really good understanding of, because when you said to me, I'm going to have my website done again to incorporate the kids and put the kids back in, some people would be like, oh no, she's having a website done again. But that was good for us actually to hear that from you, because it just meant that you were absolutely certain, because I know you wouldn't fuss with your website unless you were sure. And it was good, because it just meant that you were absolutely certain that this is something that needed to be reintroduced to your business. And sometimes that clarity, that certainty is the thing that's missing, the block for somebody between doing well and possibly procrastinating, or doing that little maypole dance around what I should do next, doing a lot of work and just not actually getting anywhere. So that's fabulous from our point of view to hear you say that, because we know now that there will be no stopping you.
Like my dad used to say, I'm a bit of a force of nature. I'm very determined, and much to my own detriment sometimes, because I forget to rest, and literally my mind is going all the time. It's like I woke up this morning thinking, right, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, and it's but not in an overwhelmed way, just in a way of kind of, right, I'm excited by it. That's what it is. And and I changed my website actually not long after joining and doing that first challenge with you, when I actually started to become very clear about, started to think I was clear about my ideal client. And having had a website that really didn't speak to ideal clients, it spoke to other professionals. That was what my original website did. Because that's what I did. And then thought, I wonder why my website doesn't have a lot of visibility and all that. And then read it through and thought, that's why. Yeah, because you're not actually speaking to anyone other than a professional who doesn't need you.
And that is a really common thing, especially when you're operating on an intelligence level and an expertise level that you are, because there are a lot of things that you would discuss in regards to your business that the common person, and I don't mean common as in common, but just a general public person, they would go over their head, they wouldn't understand it. So, depending on how you choose that language, the wording, sometimes jargon, you might completely lose people. But what's been wonderful for working with you, Helen, is that you understand that ideal client is a marathon, not a sprint. And a lot of people think that once you've done, I've done ideal client once. I've done ideal client, I can tick that off. We don't ever have to look at that again. And I love the fact that you kind of don't take that as gospel. You've always been open to the possibility that there is another angle to your ideal client, or there is another personality trait, or even another ideal client, because the kids have their own, and their parents will have their own, and there's all these little kind of branch variations of the people that fit within your ideal client spectrum. But I love the fact that you kind of understand that and you go with it. That in itself, I think, is a beautiful thing in business. If you can know that actually it's never going to be something that you can just tick off and it's nailed, you have to kind of reflect back and all of that.
It's important to, and I do every day. I do. If anybody sees my stories on Instagram, I kind of do a daily reset and refocus walk with my dogs, and it's really, that's my opportunity to kind of sit, to really out with the dogs walking, just reflect on where things are and how things are going, and even down to, well, who's contacting me for work, what's their demographic, what's who are they, where do they live, all of those things. And that's why I reintroduced men to my business as well. I'm never getting rid of the pink and purple. I don't care what the men say.
No.
Pink and purple is always me. And I think that will change. Will it change again next year? I don't know. We'll have to work on it and see.
we'll work on it. We'll work it out, and whatever happens, we'll sort it, won't we?
Yeah. Just go with the flow. I mean, I think that's always been my not my mantra. I don't. But you know, having managed child and adolescent mental health services, you have to be adaptable to change. And you know, I remember kind of one of the biggest things that I did before I left the UK, which is probably why I left the UK, was being commissioned to transform a rather large child and adolescent mental health service that was failing and wasn't meeting the needs of children and young people. And I, with a team of other people, was asked to go in and redesign it and battle against all the resistance, whilst managing kind of 65 clinicians, you know, who didn't want to change. You know, really kind of helping them to understand what the change was for and who it was for, that it's not for yourself, it's for children and young people and their parents who are waiting. And you know, all the things. I never knew I was so good at baseball at kind of knocking things kind of out of my way to get things done. You know, the next thing, oh yeah, we'll deal with that. Yeah, it's fine. So that at the end of the day, you kind of learn an approach that you have to notice what's coming, so that you can adapt to it, that you can change. You know, you can respond to it. You can change. You can change your direction, you can traverse it, you can go over it. And one of the things that I always do for myself in terms of my own business is I fear set. So I look at kind of the fears that I have around my business and around what I do, and look at that and think about the worst case scenario. Okay, if I plan for the worst case scenario, then I'm getting over the obstacle of what might be in my way.
Yeah.
So I've done that right from managing services in the NHS as well.
I mean, that's such a wonderful practice as well, because one of the things that we talk about quite often in pro members is people's blocks, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And what I always find fascinating is when somebody is introduced to their own block and they don't realise that it's a block, and mm-hmm. they'll say maybe an arbitrary sentence about something else, and we'll all go, no, that's a block within you. That's not a truth. That's a truth you're telling yourself to protect yourself from whatever it is that you're fearful of. And then when we get together and get through those, that's when we can see real change. And I love that.
It's an inspirational moment, I think. And it's motivational as well. The motivation for change is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy that. And what I like about it as well is sometimes it's nice to witness it. You don't even have to be the person to break through. Sometimes it can make a difference to us and our businesses just being around to see that happen in someone else. So that's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a big question now. Get ready. What's been your favourite training part of being a pro member? That's a big question.
I'm allowed to say it all. Well, they've all been influential in their own ways. For me, having never done strategy planning before, there's a big admission. You know, to kind of sit and do those trainings, that 90-day strategy, that 90-day strategy planning was for me, you know, what kind of made me start to think differently. And the videos for business. That was also, you know, something that was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, and looking at those four pillars, those four different pillars in the videos for business, where they should be. You know, I haven't quite got round to meeting all of those, but you know, they are on my agenda for next year, actually. Oh God, all of it, Dawney, all of it. The 2020. If only I'd have stayed the other night. But I was so tired. I just had to crash. But the 2021 strategy, with you know, that for me, I've printed it. I've started to write it. It's giving me a clear vision of my next year. So, but everything. Yeah, it's everything.
I love the fact that you can't just pick one thing. That makes me
Because
happy.
I think they all have their place, and they all have their place in supporting me. So they're all important. Yeah. Is that a cop out? I don't know. Is that
No, I'll take that. I'll take that. You're just basically saying that the whole of Pro Members is awesome, so I'll take it. That will do just fine. And I mean, we're really lucky. We've had loads of people sign up already. We've got loads of people who are planning to sign up over the next couple of days. I've had loads of lovely messages from people letting me know that they're coming in. So we're going to have some new sisters to nurture and bring into the fold. I do think that 2021 strategy might not be the best place to start though, because if you're not it may seem like quite a heavy training, although it is wonderful.
But even if Lisa Johnson's training in there, that I can't remember the name of the title of it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even that as a starting point, the Instagram Glow and Grow, the like I said, the videos for business. I like the idea of creating that for my business. So that and actually some of my clients have said that'd be brilliant. So that training for me is like, okay, can I incorporate some of the things and into my business and create an app for that? So it's like they're all important because they're all a network. They're all a spider web of helping you grow, and that so that's why I can't kind of pick one that's overly important over the other, if that makes sense.
I can't pick one either, if it helps. Yeah. I can't pick one.
Oh, go. I'm glad I'm not, because sometimes I can just, sometimes people think it's a cop-out when I say, well, everything. And it's like, no, because they all have their place. It's like when people talk to me about, kind of I do brain development training, I do training in dyadic developmental psychotherapy and attachment therapy. And it's like me, kind of saying to an audience at the end of that training, so which one was your favourite? Well, they all have a different place in why I'm training it to them. So it's the same with everything in the resource hub. Yeah, it's all there for me. It's all there.
And the idea was for me with putting everything together on the website, because obviously I want everybody to have access to it all the time. And there were a couple of times when I first started my first business, the e-commerce store, and I was doing all sorts of different things. And I was just moving into doing the agency, what is now the agency, which it feels weird saying that, because what it is now compared to my idea back then, it was just a tiny acorn back then. And I would be up in the middle of the night with Jack, who had colic, unable to sleep. And wanting to make use of that time. I didn't want to sit watching Netflix. I wanted to do something with it. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I did sit and watch Netflix, but it was happening.
Sometimes we have to.
You just have to, right? But it was happening so regularly, I thought I can make use of this time. I'm losing time in the day when I need to go and have a nap to kind of catch up. So I could be using this time. And that's when I was looking for trainings and stuff, and it wasn't available to me. The trainings were only ever 9 to 5 situations, or they were situations where, there wasn't any 8 p.m. evening trainings where I could jump on, where I might get that sweet hour between Ian being able to take over and before he needs to go to bed, and me being able to pass the kids over to do something for myself. There was never any of that. And of course I had a number of one-to-one clients and people asking for more one-to-ones, and I couldn't physically get any more in. So then that was the idea behind having everything on the website, because it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It could be 5 a.m. to us and 3 p.m. to you, or it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep and you think, I'm going to go and write that sales page or whatever, and you'll be able to log on and look through the trainings and get what you need and get your answers. And then worst case scenario, you leave a message in the group, which I'll respond to as soon as I'm awake. right? As soon as I get up, you'll get an answer. So I mean, I thought that was really important, and it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes the best things are born out of the things you didn't have.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it is, from my perspective, that ability to, because like everybody in the group and yourself, when you said it, because I am a one woman band here, my husband is away a lot, and there's nobody kind of in my friendship group here. There is internationally, I've got business friends in the UK, but here that I'm able to kind of say, oh, can you help me out with this? It's kind of like, it's me, and I'm renovating an 18th century farmhouse in France, and stupidly, and organising all the project of that, and the dogs, and I don't have children, but there's like, it's like I've got a to-do list of 3 pages on my fridge, and they're all, it's business, the house, tax, French registration, all of those things that kind of, nobody else sees. They kind of see you in a room or you on a video, but they don't see the background of what you're actually kind of holding up. So the ability to kind of, in those moments, like yesterday, I spent the afternoon going through the resource hub, and looking at some of the live trainings that I haven't managed to catch up on before, and just sat on the sofa, watching those, making notes with the dogs and a cup of tea, and it was fine, it's like I had the space to do it.
Please consume all of our trainings in the comfort that you've just painted for us, because that's another thing as well. Have you ever been to those conventions where it's like a training day for the entire day, and you go to those white and grey rooms that look like you're going back to high school, and you have to put your hand up if you want to go for a natural break, and then you have that awkward networking lunch with hors d'oeuvres and all the rest.
Oh yes, yeah.
Gosh, Helen.
Yeah.
And then at least it doesn't matter to me if you're in your
training in the NHS, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, corporate training in general, but then there became this kind of wave, wasn't there, of where I am in the Northwest, there was this kind of wave of like day trainings where everybody would get together. And don't get me wrong, I've done day trainings. When I do it, it's very casual. Could turn up in your pajamas for me, I don't care. We'll get as comfy as we can get. But I know ones that have been previously put on around here, they're just as stuffy. And I don't know about you, but I do not consume information as well as I should when I'm in that environment, because I'm not comfortable. I've put on clothes that I think I should have to wear to look a certain way to be professional. I'm in a room full of other people. I don't know what you all do, and I'm not particularly comfortable with you, and I don't have enough time to get to know you and get comfortable. And it's like, even down from like, would you put your hand up and ask a question? It's difficult to know whether you would.
Yeah.
In members, we all know each other. We've gotten to that stage where we know each other so well that we all know that there's no silly questions. There's nothing to feel fearful of. And actually, we have a laugh. A lot of the time I find, when I'm watching back my trainings, I mean, my husband laughs at me because he'll say, I'll come down after training and he'll say, hard work, was it? Was that hard work? You're laughing, like, you do the tea tonight because I've been working all day. Oh, that was work, was it? I've heard you laughing with your girl. Okay, that's work. And it does, I think it makes a massive difference just to how we consume it.
Yeah, I mean, because I still, well, this year not, but because I still come over and do training for foster carers and supervising social workers, which is a style of training that can't be online. There are some that I do that can, like attachment and things like that, but there's one in particular that is so interactive that it can't be online. I need to be in the room with people, and there's a real connection and activity that you need. Where was I going? See, that's what happens. Premenopausal brain as well, I think. Yeah. So, it's, you have to be, you have to be energetic in it, and that has to be online too. There has to be an energy to it that, that feels relaxed and feels like you can learn and feels like there's no pressure and feel like there's no stupid question. There's no silly question. Everything is relevant, and everything is important, but you can have a laugh doing it. I mean, even in my free group, I do live seminar sessions for them, and which can be heavy going, but I still have a laugh with them. I think sometimes they're a bit, kind of, oh, she's made a joke about this. Should she really be? But that is also the dark sense of humour of the Liverpudlian. Um,
It has to come out somewhere.
it comes out in that environment, but kind of that ability to, and that's what the group is like, is that ability and that to feel relaxed, and feel relaxed in the training as well, and to ask anything you like. It's anything obviously that's relevant, but to ask anything that you like, and feel safe to, and that's what it is. It's a safe and secure community, and if there's one thing that is the core of who I am, it's providing safety and security. So when I see it, when I feel it in an environment, I'm there.
Yeah, it's like a magnetic draw, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love the idea that, I mean, I don't love the idea, but I love the idea of the transition between the female entrepreneur, the businesswoman who has a backpack full of heavy business stones, and she's carrying them around all by herself all the time, every single day. It's this weight on her back. And then when she comes to pro members and she sees that actually we're all in there, and she walks through the door and she can just see that everyone's backpack has been put down in the corner, and
Yeah.
backpacks are still relevant and they're still there, but come and join us at the table, take that weight off,
Yeah.
and come and join us at the table. We will pick up those stones up together at that table, one by one by one. And then by the time you pick your backpack up and leave that room again, which a lot of people don't, of course, we don't have a lot of churn when it comes to pro members. People come and generally stay, which is wonderful. But for those who have come and got what they needed and then moved on because they happily fulfilled
Yeah.
whatever that purpose was, when they pick that backpack back up, that's not heavy no more, or it's certainly not heavy with the business stuff that they required.
No, and like you say, when we're all so busy, when we're all so full, in our minds and in what we're doing, to feel that lightness, because you're in a community where you can just kind of set that down and say, oh right, yeah, there's a real network here,
Yeah.
and people are listening, and people care, and people respond, and people are supportive, and they may not always understand what you're doing, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't matter. It's about the individual and what they're experiencing, and the struggles or the blocks or the triumphs or the the overflow of goals from one week to another.
It happens to us all. It happens to us all, and that's the point of having. We have the accountability there so that we can see what it is that we've put down for the week, and that we can actively know where we're at, and it gives us that opportunity to keep on track. Even if we flow things over to the following week, it's a conscious decision.
It's a conscious decision. Yeah.
Which is helpful, because what can happen, as you know, is you can have a to-do list that is so long that there can be particular priorities that stay at the bottom of that to-do list forevermore, and some of them just need switching out so that the traction, so the growth can occur, so that we can look back, like you have, can look back at your year and go, well, look at that. 100% up. I mean, that's wonderful, and that's the kind of thing that we want. We want you to.
Yeah.
It's nice that you didn't know, and that when you looked back, you look back at it and it's been such a significant change. And if that's what happens with small baby steps, for lack of a better term, for small consistent areas of traction, is that you'll turn back and go, wow, that was a year ago. And for us, I don't think like a year feels like a long time either. I feel like this year has just flown by.
Yeah, it's been a tough year, but it has. It's kind of like, hang on, we're only 3 months to March, but we were only just in March.
It makes no sense. Like, I feel like I left everything back in March, and then when everything kind of opened up in the summer, that felt like March, and everything is almost and we've obviously come back to the UK and everyone's in Christmas mode, and we are so not in Christmas mode. We were wrapping presents last night and we were like, I just can't believe that like Christmas is going to be so weird for us this year, 'cause it's just not, it's like a non-Christmas.
Yeah. And Christmas for me, because I'm on my own again this year, my husband and I aren't separated. He just works away. Everybody thinks, just my husband's name is Simon, but I call him Fergie, and everybody does. So if they're one and the same, if I ever say Simon and Fergie, I don't have a secret lover called Fergie. But, he works away all the time. So I'm on my own for Christmas this year. And somebody said, "Oh, are you away?" And I'm like, no, I'm working up to and including 4 o'clock not on Christmas Eve. I'll have Christmas Day and Boxing Day off, and then I'm back into it. It's fine. I'm kind of cool with that, because I actually don't. I put a wreath on my gates for when people come and they want to feel Christmassy. There's and I've put a string of fairy lights in my living room. Put them on and go, oh yeah, it's Christmas. And, but I just think it doesn't feel Christmassy. It doesn't. For me, it doesn't. But then I think it would if my husband was home.
Yeah, it's a strange situation, isn't it? And it's such a shame that he's not back. When will you see him again? Is he back soon?
End of February.
Oh, okay. It's not too long to wait. Some people will be like, wow, end of February, that's a long time. But for you, we know how long you wait.
Yeah.
Like, end of February. Oh, okay, that's okay.
Oh, that's good. That's not far off. Because he was home for. I saw him for 4 weeks in August, and so he went out last December. Obviously, with COVID, couldn't get back, and got home end of August. End of July. Had 4 weeks home, and then was off again. So, he just works hard. Yeah. We're renovating a house. He's the biggest earner at the moment, so it's like, yeah, you go and do that. I'm fine. I'm cool here. Let's have a kitchen, please.
Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today, darling. I feel
like I've been on the Dawny show. It's brilliant.
I know. I mean, I'm seriously considering making this like a permanent feature, because I'm really enjoying it.
I think you have to. I think it's a given now that you have to do this.
It's just been so much fun, and I think it's just nice for us, because we obviously do get together and we do chat, but it's just so nice for us to have this time where we can kind of just go through things, unpack and figure out where we're at and stuff, and just have a natter, because we don't make enough time for that, do we? None of us do. No. None of us do. No matter what we're doing, we never give ourselves the priority over that, and it's been so wonderful. So thank you so much.
It's all right. It was so worth putting makeup on for.
Look beautiful, and I'm so glad that we've plastered your face all over the internet, and I'm going to share this in even more places too. So we've got your.
It's a rare thing for me to put makeup on, and I was like, because I don't wear an awful lot, but it's a rare thing on a Sunday, because I do a lot of my admin on a Sunday. So, and as you know, I have a full self-care package that happens on a Sunday afternoon. So
it's coming up just after this.
yeah. But no. All that aside, I mean, it's just, like you say, it's just been a wonderful opportunity to actually kind of, share the importance of everything actually, and to talk and to notice things and to share things, and and to share how important the group is to me, and how important you are, and that.
That you're absolutely loved. I'm cutting up now, because you're absolutely appreciated in the group as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know,
Have a wonderful Sunday.
Oh, it's that time. So, yes, thank you very much. And we'll leave it there, and I'll see you next time. Big love.
Big love to you.
Bye.
Bye.